Everybody put your hands up!
Hello and welcome to the 8th Trigger Bois podcast, where we talk about Trigger Bois. We talk about ourselves, but mostly Darling the FranXX, the show, for this series. Today we have with us, of course, me, Vamp the Vampire. I love saying my own name. I say it every episode. We also have with us Munzie.
Kim Kardashian, if you are listening to this, we would love to have you on as a guest. We know how much you love Darling in the FranXX and how much you love Zero Two and all the Japanese animes. So please, Kim Kardashian, come on our show.
Hashtag Kim for Trigger.
Kim for Studio Trigger.
Yes. I would love to have her on. But today we also have with us Lucy.
I think I'm a bad person.
You know, I think a lot of people think that about themselves.
I mean, do they?
I mean, maybe not normies.
Yeah, whatever.
But maybe that's just the difference.
What the fuck are we talking about today?
We're talking about the 8th episode of Darling the FranXX.
Oh, fuck.
Right?
I watched that. That's convenient that I'm here.
I watched it too.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
But, so the first scene starts
I didn't
off,
watch it.
Perfect. We have an outsider perspective here, folks.
I definitely watched it. This is my favorite episode of Darling in the FranXX.
It's also my favorite episode of Darling in the FranXX, and for all the wrong reasons.
Yep.
I guess we'll get into that.
We definitely will.
But the episode starts off with a just random monster, mid-battle monster. The monster's only attack, really, other than like it just having teeth, I guess, is it has goo. And so it sprays it all over the FranXX, everyone in battle.
Wait, Vamp, you're already going too fast.
You're going way too fast,
Because
Vamp.
what you missed is during like the first action scene, the first thing that you hear other than the fucking ear-piercing scream is in the background for the first time in this entire series, hip-hop music.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of like new metal-y kind of beat.
Everybody put your hands up!
Everybody put your hands up!
One of the fantastic lyrics
Which was
in the song.
the climax of the battle. And you just hear they're about to drill into the core. Streletsky is about to drill into the core, and they go, "Everybody put your hands up!" It was really funny.
It was fucking
Everybody
hilarious.
put your hands up!
And sets the tone for the rest of this episode being an absurd, hilarious clusterfuck.
Hell yeah.
Perfect start. Surprised I didn't really find it to be that memey. I found it to be like kind of like a Gurren Lagann type song. It didn't have much impact on me though.
I mentioned that while me and Munzie watched this together. I said that hip-hop being... I felt like hip-hop was a weird fucking choice for this show because in Gurren Lagann, the characters are essentially street rats, right? So I felt like hip-hop kind of goes along with the background and the theme of like the characters and their attitudes. These are like soldier kids or something. So I don't really understand why they would pick like hip-hop for this show.
Yeah, it didn't really, like, in Gurren Lagann, and there was even parts of Kill la Kill with some, like, vocal parts. It went with the attitude of the show and the feeling at the moment. But it doesn't go with the attitude of
it was
Darling the FranXX.
Maybe
Maybe in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a random fight so that they could get this acid thing so they could kick off this sort of, like, sex and gender related plot, right?
Guys, it's fine.
Right.
Guys, it's fine.
Finally.
Fine. It was fine music for the scene. Do you know why?
Why?
Because everybody put your hands up!
Everybody
Hands
put your
up!
hands up!
I love it. It's
Yeah.
going to be a
gonna be my
solid meme for a good day and a half, I'm sure.
Phone ringtone.
When I get a text, everybody put your hands up!
Oh my god, we need that.
Oh, God. I should put that at the beginning of this episode. Before we even do introductions. But yeah, why we keep mentioning the acid is because the acid got on to the FranXX, like I said, and it went into the mechs, and it destroyed the female pilot's
Power
outfits.
suits. Yep, power suits.
Or some Evangelion fans might say plug suits. But
Evangelion fans would not say that because that's a different show.
they remind me of plug suits. And in my notes, I
Because
call them
they are
plug
plug
suits.
They're just fucking suits. But
It's
remember,
'cause they're-
these are
They're
spray-on.
mech suits. They're just what they wear in mech.
No, they're spray-on.
Oh,
Just
true.
spray on.
These are they aren't latex tight like they are in Ava.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess is kind of better.
Is it? They did that in
yeah.
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I don't know if I talked about that in our episode 1 podcast. But they did that in
I don't
Cloudy
think
with a
so.
Chance of Meatballs, and it was fine there because that was a fucking kids movie.
Spray on or latex?
No, they did there was spray-on boots was an invention that the main character made, and the joke was that it was stupid.
Yeah.
So in
Sounds
a
about right.
children's show, they said that the idea that's seriously implemented in this drama show was stupid, like 5
Well,
years ago.
Well, Cloudy and the Meatballs is way ahead of the curve, I must say.
Oh, I would say that Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is the Evangelion of children's movies. I mean, I don't know why anybody would say otherwise.
Everything is the Dark Souls of Dark Souls. That's how much I care about that meme.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're getting sidetracked hard here, but just to wrap up that like first scene, the first scene. So after these plug suits are destroyed a little bit, the guys end up staring at the girls because they're like in puberty and they're like, hey, this is cool.
Also got their fucking asses sticking in their faces.
Yeah.
I was, it's like
Just
they could
keep
see
that imagery in
everything.
mind. Oh yeah. I mean, they could see everything kind of anyways, but
But
It
now
really,
they,
like,
they get to see skin
Wasn't
here, you know?
that different from their normal view. Like, in all
yeah.
fairness.
So they get back to the base, and the girls are all upset that they find out, they didn't know their uniforms. The spray-ons were destroyed, and the guys were looking. So they got a little upset. They got pretty defensive, and what ended up happening was, the girls divided the whole mansion with tape. On one side is the girls, the other side is the boys, and they play the whole episode is about playing that game.
Boys versus girls. Boys X girls, which is the name of the episode.
Perfect. So, got anything to say about that?
Oh boy, do I. And this is why this was my favorite episode, because it was lighthearted, it was fun, it was goofy. They were having a good little fun time, and there were some goofy little moments that gave me a little chuckle, and it was just a fun little time.
Oh yeah,
And-
this is a fun episode.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think Lucy, I'll give I'm gonna give this episode credit where it's due. I had a fun little time. I think it was goofy. I laughed a couple times.
Oh, I thought
Maybe
this
not
episode
for the
was
right
actually
reasons,
like
but-
legit really funny for about the first half.
Yeah, I definitely want to give this episode credit where it's due.
Though about the majority of the time that I was laughing, I was confused about whether I was laughing because the jokes were funny or if it was because the jokes were so deeply out of place. Like I said this to you, Munzie, around the beginning of the episode, that this plot feels like a plot of a children's cartoon. Like, it feels like a SpongeBob plot.
I mean, it just feels like
a battle
to me,
of the sexes.
Yeah. You know what? You're actually right, because
and it's in the middle of this dramatic show. Like, this is an
I mean, a
action
lot of
show.
people have said early on, though, that this show is not just a hard drama and it's a comedy. And I always felt that anything that seemed that it could have been a comedic moment was just so poorly done, and the tone shifts were so awkward and stilting that it made it just feel like a bad drama to me, with awkward kind of moments that didn't feel right.
I entirely agree with that, but I would say that this entire episode is one big stilted, out of place, tone breaking moment. It's just
in
episode.
the series for sure.
Yeah, in the series.
Which, this episode is actually kind of more along the lines of like what I wanted from the show.
Really?
Yeah, is this like, at least from the comedy from the show, right?
I can see that.
Where it's goofier. They are like, yes, this is comedy, and then they have these darker undertones like they bring in later in the episode that we'll talk about, and they actually do explore them a little bit, right? And it is like the exploration of the themes of the show, which like I said, I think we'll get into whatever, but we'll wait until we get to that. But I just think the comedy of the show is kind of what I really wanted, kind of mixed with this drama interspersed. And I think this episode honestly did the best job at balancing that in the whole series, whereas everything up to this point failed. And now, because of that, this episode stands out as one, as like an awkward piece in it because of the tone of the episode. You know, it doesn't really fit everything else, but on its own, it's pretty all right.
I mean, I don't get this feeling that both of you get, because from the very beginning, like maybe not episode 1, but episode 2 was clearly just like this fun episode for the most part. There was some like plot, like, and things, information given to us, but it was mostly just like this episode, just a fun thing where kind of like maybe like one thing or two things significant happen. And it's like, this has been apparent to me from the very beginning. So it just doesn't feel that awkward to me.
Yeah, I just never thought it was funny. like I could see what they were going for at times, but like a lot of the time it was just not funny or fun.
See,
even this episode was.
Vamp, that comment makes me upset. Because I don't understand what it is like about the show where you guys just like want it to be a comedy. Because the fact that the show is trying to be a comedy fucking blows my mind. Everything about the setting and the premise just screams to me like just a straight action show or an action drama. And the show is all of those things, and then is also trying to be a comedy sometimes. Comedy shows usually have like an entirely different premise. I'm not saying that comedy shows like half explicitly to be like set in a high school or set in a workplace or whatever the fuck, because you can totally have like a post-apocalyptic comedy, but I don't know why you would
my counterpoint is that in anime in general, like in any plot they try to stick in, maybe not any plot, but like you see in a variety of different plots comedy thrown in there,
and
whether
I think
it's
that's
like a
bad.
main thing or not.
I think that
you don't like most anime then.
Exactly.
That is true. Lucy does not
you.
like most anime.
That context for the audience is a big thing for understanding why
like
you think that.
I see this trope all over the place with like these shonen action series where it's like kind of drama-y, kind of action-y, and then there's this awkward comedy thrown in. And whenever I'm watching this Battle of the Sexes episode, I just sit back and be like, this is just like another generic shitty anime that has this awful fucking like writing trope in it, I guess. I don't know why this is all over the place in anime. It's odd to me. It's so odd.
It's probably a Japanese thing.
I mean, it's certainly that.
It's anime, so it has to be.
Yeah.
I think maybe I wasn't clear enough kind of describing like how I said like how I want this episode to represent what I want from Darling in the Franxx. It's not that I want Darling in the Franxx to be a comedy, is that I want it to have, I like that it has its comedic elements. That's fine. I just want the comedy to be done like it is in this episode. I don't need it to be like a dark and gritty show in its environment. It can explore everything that it wants to do in its environment and in the premise and the setting that it set up for itself with this comedy, and still having serious moments and drama happen. That's captivating. Like you do see that happen in plenty of other shows. I think a good example of like the tone that this show should have gone for, and it's something similar to Gurren Lagann. where they do have some very good comedy moments in Gurren Lagann.
There's some good chuckles.
Lots of goofiness happening all the time, while also having a very serious plot about like rising up and like developing. Well, it's mostly just like a massive coming of age story, but
the setting is like ridiculously
fighting the fucking
like,
power, my dude, of
yeah.
taking over the universe because you want to. You don't want to be held down by anybody. Like exploring these kind of themes of youth and growing up and taking control and whatnot and fighting the power.
Oh, yeah.
And this show has its themes that it clearly wants to explore, but is just failing to do so in an interesting way.
I'm happy they finally got around to actually like making an episode where there's both fan service and just comedy and good times, while also progressing the plot and the themes. You know, maybe not the plot, but like the theming. This is a good episode that gives to the theming.
I think that I agree.
There's some other episodes that waste their time. You know, not really do much.
I see what you're saying. I feel like that should have been the beach episode, which is another thing that's like really uncanny about this episode existing, is that it seems like it should have been a beach episode where it's supposed to like break up some sort of dramatic storyline or be in between an arc or something like that. But this came right after the other like, oh, let's just set the story down for a while kind of episode. So it's like beach episode part 2 and not in the way that we talked about wanting last episode.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with you on that one. The interesting thing here is that like beach episode, especially in the part when they're at the beach, it was very much not it wasn't really exploring anything. Like later in the episode they did explore some stuff. But I think the whole girls versus boys trope in the episode does apply to like a lot of the themes more heavily than the beach episode did. It does exploring their sexuality and exploring what it means to be a boy and a girl in puberty, and they talk about that. Because I initially dismissed this episode because I was like, why are they like having these sexual feelings anyways when they don't know what sex is? But it's because they are teenagers going through puberty, and so of course they're going to have just awkward sexual feelings anyways. That kind of the social behavior is what is the issue, though. Like the girls being embarrassed, like they shouldn't feel embarrassed just because that's a societal thing. That is just like a heteromasculine societal look at it, just as like, yeah, women are supposed to be ashamed of like their nudity. It's something like sacred, which like most people would agree isn't like actually true.
Yeah, I mean, during that I got there
during puberty, girls are just as sexual beings. They're just taught to not express that. So
it's definitely
like, they have those sexual feelings, and that's like the problem I have is that the girls should be feeling the exact same way the guys do, and they don't. And it's just like poor exploration of these themes in this episode, because of that, because of a too many assumptions and generalizations made about gender, while also adhering to like a hard gender binary and expectations of how different genders should behave. It's just all sorts of nonsense like that makes the themes in this episode really poorly expressed.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear that the maker of this like is very like supportive and like fully into the idea of like, you know, there's just two genders, and you know, hetero masculine society and whatnot. So that really did come out. But I just want to say before we move on to the next scene that hold on.
Everybody put your hands up!
So I wanted to bring out this point that I kind of thought about, which is that there was this, not necessarily like single moment, but this thing that was happening once they put up like the physical line dividing the two genders. There was one person who went across it. There was one person who interacted with both sides and felt at home, And who was it? It was 02, right? And
Well,
I thought,
I don't think that was due to 02 like not like identifying as a girl. I think it was just her just being that like creating hard standards at all like this is just dumb.
right.
Which I guess is just going against like the norm of like gender roles.
It's almost like
in this
she's
society,
not
but-
conforming to the gender roles that were placed upon her.
Yeah.
Maybe she's just a strong woman.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, that's very in 02's character is all I'm saying.
Oh, I entirely agree. I just think that that is like the counterpoint to saying that this episode showed like this really strong gender binary is 02 breaks the gender binary in this particular instance in a very,
Yeah, I
like,
mean if
physical way.
yeah, I mean if 02 is just the answer to like all of my problems with it, I mean,
I
I can't say that'll be the
I don't
most
think it's some
satisfying.
fucking I don't think it's
thing
some
for
fucking
me.
fantastic statement about non-binary representation in anime or anything like that. I think there's a thing that exists.
That's not even what I'm
all.
asking for. It's just how hard it goes into like normifying the gender
Oh, yeah.
like, gender binary and like it's not even about the binary. It's like it's just about like making assumptions about like how people behave, which is just stupid. And that could be taught in the world, but it's not. Like you can make all these defenses like, well, it could be taught in this world. That could be like forced in their mind that they present all these roles. Like the women are the stamen and or pistols, and the men are the stamen. Like
doesn't
all
that
this
sound familiar?
all this nonsense like that can exist, and like these can be like justifications, but like it's not expressed in the show, so it doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel like it should exist because I exist in my world and I have my own look on it and the way things should be. And a show going against that without explaining itself is annoying.
Oh yeah. All right. I just remembered that I wanted to say that this is like the first episode where the girls and the boys have to really confront each other and like how they interact. So, like sexually, and that they're like quote unquote different, Before this they're just like everything like seemed like kind of fine, but they were never really too intimate and never confronted any of these issues or anything really sexually. It was almost like none of this existed in their brains, which, as we talked about, was clearly the case. So that's why I think this episode kind of proves that the series is going to be going uphill. Not that it's going to be great, not that it's even going to be like above a 7, but clearly it's going to take a path that is just going to lead to more interesting things happening. Yeah. So in this next scene, we have FranXX, Dr. FranXX, saying that all the kids are in puberty simultaneously, which is weird. And
Well, I think it's because they're like I feel like they're
and
like
he tells
test tube
them,
babies
it
or
tells
something.
the two adults, Nana and whatever the generic dude, commander dude is, that he that just to not interfere. So the episode continues with Goro the next day, in the eating room, sort of tape the ground so the girls can't get into the eating room because they didn't tape it off there, and it's the girls, I guess, weren't able to eat in the dining hall or whatever. So
Not all the girls. 02 did because she's like, fuck this shit.
yeah, she rebelled.
Because the girls didn't eat. I'm surprised it took so long, and I'm just gonna point this out now. Later in the episode, the one woman who like works with them, I forget her name, is the one that gives them the
Nana.
assignments. Nana, is that her name? She like later in the episode, she's like, y'all gotta stop fighting when they're in the bath later, and I don't know why they didn't just say that then, because they have a very regimented lifestyle. So assuming that. And, like, they're soldiers, so them not eating is, like, a big deal because they want their soldiers to be... And they bring this up later in the episode. Like, they say, like, your soldiers don't forget that. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm surprised they didn't put a stop to
She
it
was like, "What happens if the fucking
in the beginning.
Claxafags like showed up now?" And they were like, "Ooh, why didn't she say that around breakfast time?" Because if the girls didn't eat and then the Claxers showed up and they were all hungry, I mean, that could, severely affect their combat performance.
It's because
Yeah,
the episode wouldn't have happened without it. But
I think something happened where they like had access to other food or whatnot, but I can't remember what specifically when that happened in the episode, so I don't want to confirm
don't think
anything
that
I can't
happened.
really can confirm. But even if it's like a minor plot hole, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually for a little bit there, I thought you guys like I couldn't hear you guys and I was like worried. But 02 decides, let's spice things up, let's take action. Actually, let's get action. So she decides that when the girls are in the bath, that she's gonna tell the boys, hey, you're allowed to use the bath. So they walk in, they're like, hey, we're going to use the bath, and we don't know the girls are in there. So they walk in on the girls, bam. All hell breaks loose, or whatever saying you want to say.
They're fighting.
Fighting, things are getting thrown, boys are going for cover. It's a full-out war in the bathing
dumb.
house.
Because there's another plot hole here. So, yeah, 02 tricks the boys into coming into the bath. And then the girls are already in there, and then 02 like steals all their clothes and leaves. It's like, aha. And then the girls just sort of keep throwing shit at the boys, and they're like, oh, we gotta take cover. I don't understand why they didn't just close the door and leave. It was supposed to be because they didn't have their clothes, but nobody else was in the mansion.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking the whole time.
So I ended up just be like, oh, we're sorry.
can't fight you
Let's
on
just
this one.
close the door and just go up to our rooms and get our other clothes. And then come back and be like, hey, here was the situation. We weren't actually going to try and come in and gangbang all of you or whatever the fuck you thought we were going to do.
And this is like a minor thing that happens all the time in all forms of media, particularly like film and TV, where you have characters arguing about something, and usually one person is being accused of something that they didn't do, in which in this case it was the boys barging into perv on the girls, which they didn't mean to do, and they start fighting, and the girls like keep berating them about it, but they never give the boys time to actually explain themselves. And that is something I hate in television. I just hate when people do it in general, and it's just
overreaction.
It is like the biggest pet peeve of mine in like all of medium. It's like the trope that I hate the most.
You just sit there and are just frustrated how the characters just like can't like figure it out. Like they just seem dumb, and it just makes
it's so obvious that the guys wouldn't walk in there and just like stare at them like weirdos. Like, what are they gonna do? They walked in there clearly like surprised and like, oh my god, whoops. So it's like it's just so obvious that they like.
I mean, that is
bad
one of, if not my least favorite trope in like all of writing, and I can't stand it because it's unjustified always, and I always just get frustrated, and so it's never fun to watch.
Oh yeah, it's that was probably the only like I don't want to say plot hole, but kind of that happened, you know? That's really the only thing that was like, okay, this is a bit ridiculous. And it had me going for a few minutes.
All right, so I wanted to bring something up. I do think it's kind of funny that me and Munzie both started this episode being like, this is our favorite episode. Now we're just complaining about it. Like,
I mean, it is my favorite episode.
From the beginning,
I still hate the show.
Yeah, from the beginning into here, it is awful. From the beginning into here is full of like little jokes and funny gags that I was chuckling at. You know, I was laughing at for the reasons that I sort of outlined earlier. So before anybody fucking points out that we just fucking like hate wank on this show or whatever, I just wanted to point that out there, that there were like good moments here. There's just not much interesting fucking shit to say about it, okay? Because it's just gags that were kind of funny.
Yeah. When we make these episodes, it's like we're throwing everything we got at it, all the good things, all the bad things. And
This is very, very lopsided.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I mean that's fine. And also, I think there's a whole other aspect of like in the episodes, there's a whole lot of little gags where it's like we're not going to explain each one. We're going through major plot points with these notes here.
Yeah,
and
I mean, we hit. Feel like we do a good job hitting each scene, and really covering everything that happens in a scene, and most of the things that happen aren't good.
Yeah, I mean,
this is also like
plot-wise and
one of my least
structure-wise,
favorite
not too
shows
good.
ever. So like I think that justifies me saying like, yeah, this show's fucking garbage.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's legit.
Like for the whole episode, this is like the first episode where I actually have like a lot of good things to say, or not a lot, but like less bad things. That might not even be fair too, but at least I have good things to say. And like the overall, like the episode was like not complete dog shit.
Yeah, there was some enjoyment to be found for sure. I feel for a lot of people here, and I'm glad that can be admitted here.
Just wanted to say that like there was good stuff in this episode. There's just not much to say about it, you know.
Oh yeah. So moving on. 02's takes the boy's clothes and runs off with it. Hero chases her, and they end up like chasing each other to the roof. It's all fun times for 02. Hero ends up having a bit fun, and he's happy. 02's having a good time.
I thought this was
And
kind of
so-
cute.
Oh yeah,
Got a really
It was very
fucking
cute.
hot shot of 02's foot. She also like wasn't wearing pants. She normally wears leggings under her dress. She was like nude town under there. That was weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, she wasn't gonna use the bath or anything. So, like, the fact that she had like no leggings or shoes or anything is like maybe they're trying to say, oh yeah, spoiler alert, before the scene happened that 02 was gonna go into the bathroom or something, or to allude to the fact that the girls are in the bathroom, the bathing room. So it's.
I mean, I kind of figured right away what was happening when 02 took that down.
Yeah, that was like
Yeah.
Kind of obvious. I was like, why is she doing this? Oh.
I think that she wasn't wearing
Yeah.
pants for the sake of adding a bit more sexual energy to the scenes outside of the bathhouse. Yeah.
It just feels more intimate, which does
I
add to it.
I would not say it was particularly intimate. I just think it was like more sexual, you know?
I mean, it felt more homey, and I think that would be a good describing word for me.
In the way that, like, my dad used to walk around the house in his boxers, kind of homey, I guess.
Yeah, it's like you're comfortable in your house. You're comfortable, with yourself or the environment you're in. Or both.
I'm naked right now.
Oh, hell yeah.
I have been naked for every single episode of this podcast.
I don't believe
It goes with the theming of the show. We
yeah.
swear.
Yeah. Just to really feel like you're in Darling in the Franxx. You gotta
Yeah,
be naked.
yeah, you got to be naked. I have my butt sticking up. I'm in a mecca. My boyfriend's got his dick up my butt right now.
At all times.
We're fighting stupid generic robots. I feel like I'm in the show.
Hell yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Ooh, baby.
If you're not doing that also, viewers at home, I think there's a problem. I think there's a problem.
if you're not using Darling in the Franxx for your sexual roleplay every night,
Oh, every night, dude.
You ain't doing it right, bud.
You know that
Your
this
sex life is not
piloting
being
the
done
mechs in
correctly.
this show has worked its way well into my masturbation habits.
The Dojins will be
Oh,
corrupted.
the Klaxosaurus!
oh baby. All right, I think we should move on because we're pushing.
Yeah,
hard
we're
times here.
moving-
We still
we're
got, we
moving
still got
on.
like
Don't
the end
you
of the
worry, my
episode to talk
friends.
about.
So after that happens, the girls are still mad, but Kokoro, Fat Boy's like girlfriend or whatever, partner,
Sweet girl.
sweet girl.
She's adorable. She's wholesome.
She decides to say to the girls, "Hey, maybe we should forgive the guys. Maybe we are just different and all this stuff. So she ends up convincing the girls, hey, let's go apologize. The boys also, by their own will, just decide to apologize too, by Hiro saying, hey, Zero Two was having some fun, and I think we should support the girls more often. I think they might have a hard job. So they're both convinced, both groups. And so they go to apologize to each other. But Twin Tails decides, I still want to rebel and be mad at the guys. So she runs off. She goes into this room that was alluded to earlier in the episode that was taped off. And in this taped off room, she sees a picture of an old squad that used to occupy that base or whatever. So obviously seeing this means that, maybe these people are gone because they died. So
because 02 said earlier, she like, there was like this really forced line where she was like, ooh, because you might die someday or something like that. And they were like, oh my God, we might die someday. And so that's why that was on her mind.
Oh, yeah. So
yeah, I think I'd like to comment on that a little bit, because Lucy mentioned this while we were watching.
Shit to say about this.
And Lucy said they're in the military. If they're not fully aware that they are every time they go out to battle that they could very well die, they're fucking stupid. Like, for it to just hit all of them as a group at once in such a insignificant way by looking at a photo of the people that came before them is just ridiculous.
I mean, especially since it kind of surprises me that it didn't exist, just because it's a dystopian trope for the people in charge of the military to beat the soldiers' morality into their heads, occasionally insofar that they like lose value on their lives, right? Where
I mean, we saw that in the beach episode with Shota Boy saying like, I'll fight for father no matter what. Like, I'm glad that we get to protect the adults. Like, that morality is there, and it's like imprinted in them.
And I don't understand why it wasn't also pressed into them. Like, hey, by the way, you can die one day, and that's okay, because there's always going to be another team to replace you. The plantation's always going to be protected as long as you try your hardest. You know.
Or even I talked about Gunslinger Girl last episode when we talked about this. In Gunslinger Girl, what they do is they basically brainwash the girls to be loyal to their caretakers. And so they will do anything that their caretaker asks them. So that when their caretaker give them assignments to, hey, go kill this guy, they're like, hey, as long as it's part of like me doing what you say and protecting you and having you love me, yeah, I will totally be down. And you could argue that's really fucked up, but
it is fucked up.
That's like the way the world works for these girls. It's like, it's just it's what they established as the way it works in the show. And so like, I believe it, and it works for the show, because that's like the point.
And so
whereas here it doesn't do anything like that.
To take a step back and sort of explain like why I brought up like dystopian fiction, is not only does it not make sense to me in world that the concept of morality never would have occurred to them or been taught to them, I also don't think it makes sense when viewing this as like from a sort of meta perspective of viewing it as like a dystopian military action thing. Because like there's a trope that's usually there, at least to some degree, and is in fact incredibly played against, but to know like in universe explanation, it's weird.
I mean, here's the thing, like when I watched the episode, the feeling I got was like that these children have been like almost sheltered. Their whole lives have been like basically like been structured by the council or whatever, some power, and I just feel like they've been sheltered their whole lives from like death, and it's like, they were just in these training pods, before doing really anything, and no one can die in those, like the training mock training type synchronization tests and stuff like that. That's just, there's no risk involved. And when someone doesn't show potential, they ship them off to some, like, as we seen in that first episode, like, some weird, like, thing that's not attached to the main base. So basically, they see people disappear, but not really die. They just disappear. And so...
I mean, the problem is with that is that, like, do they not know what happens to them if they go out into battle and don't beat the Klaxosaur? Because the answer is they fucking die. Because the Klaxosaur
I don't understand
sees that they're fighting them and is
how,
trying to get it. The Klaxosaur fights back. Is all I'm saying. It's like they can die and they fear for their own death a lot of the time, and they've been in pain too, right?
Oh,
So
totally.
even if they're not afraid of death per se, they definitely don't like the pain that comes from losing in battle.
We
right?
had some close calls in like the battle in the lava mines, where some characters
Like,
almost died and they were freaking the fuck out.
And Edgy Boy, our pill popping friend, he
That's right.
he,
We actually
he
have
very well knows like how
we've
fucked up it
seen
is.
a
Yeah,
character on
Mitsuru.
screen die. We also have a character who's known as the partner killer, right? Ooh, anybody who pilots with her will die. So clearly these kids like know about mortality, and it applying to parasites somehow. They just didn't ever put the thing together that they could die if they weren't
And that's
piloting
fine
with
for like
02.
them to make those realizations, but for them to all make that realization in such a stupid way individually is just fucking
I
dumb.
talked about how and this goes along with how like I want things to happen in the show. I want, and this is like, these are two things that I talk about like wanting to happen just because they represent to me like places that the show like obviously could go to where I would consider it being like something dramatic happening that could be interesting. It's like I want people to have sex and I want somebody to die, right? And I think that we could have had an explore, like the whole team's like, oh fuck, we can all die, but why don't we just have that happen by having one of these stupid fucking underwritten characters fall into a fucking lava pit or get gobbled up by some Klaxosaurs and be like, oh, Shota Boy and Lolly Girl got fucking eaten last night, so that sucks. How about we now like have some fucking existential dread about the meaningless of our lives?
Yeah, instead of just seeing
And
pictures.
inject some
somewhere.
fucking drama in there,
Yeah.
Have something happen.
Yeah, I do want some interesting things to happen. But going back to, that scene, I really don't think it was like, oh my god, we could die, guys. I think it was more of like a reminder, like, oh yeah, this is serious. Like this whole episode was literally like jokey and fun. Like even like the battle was like, it had this like upbeat like passionate music that wasn't
Everybody
really.
put your hands up.
Everybody put your hands up.
Everybody put your hands up.
My hands are up.
But
Mine aren't.
yeah, it was fun from the very beginning, and it almost was like almost reminding both us, the viewer, and the kids there, that like this whole episode that we both, the characters and us, went through since we were watching, that hey, everything's not fun and games, we're
Right.
it is a little bit dangerous.
It could have been like trying to like
I just don't
slip
think it
back
was
into that
going to the
drama
extent that
tone.
you guys are saying, like, oh my god, guys, did you
Oh, it
realize
definitely was.
I
that
mean,
just,
they
we
can die?
had a fucking really dark room and a little girl crying. I would say it was like pretty dramatic. She was like and it seemed like a lot to me. It seemed like it
a little
fucking
moody.
bummed everybody out.
I mean, it did. Maybe not to a crazy extent, but it definitely did.
It was just like it was just it reminded me that shit could be happening in the show, but nothing is happening.
You reveal your true feelings. Nah, I get what you're saying. I don't think it's like completely unreasonable to like, feel that way. But ending that scene, they just apologize to each other. It's all good. And at the very end of this episode, for the very last scene, 02, they suited up and they're getting into the mechs, into their FranXX. Zero-Two's in a white plug suit this time. Maybe that means something. I don't know.
Probably
And
not.
Hero tells her that, hey, I want to get to know you better, so speak the truth.
Yeah, I don't
you
know why
know.
he said that.
I don't think she ever goes out her way to lie or anything, but maybe she's not specifically open or intimate.
Don't know what
What
prompted
was
in
the
him.
line? What was
conversation
the
all the
line
time?
that Hero said exactly? Was it that he wants her to speak the truth, or just
He said, "I want
talk
you to
about
speak
herself?
your mind more around me," and she was like,
Yeah,
why?"
something like
And
that.
he was
I don't think that
"Because I
means
wanna
tell
get
the
to
truth.
know
That just
you."
means just talk at all about what she thinks.
Yeah,
about
wording
life.
is
I don't,
important
why?
here.
Why is he saying that now, when they're fucking suiting up like this out of nowhere?
Oh, it's because it's just they needed a place to do it, and so why not when they're suiting up for the next battle, because they had a morale boost, so they got to go
Yeah,
fight.
I mean, this was definitely the end of the episode, scene trying to hype us up for the next episode. Because first of all, we got the reveal of Zero-Two's new white plug suit.
That went
Spray suit.
entirely over my head. I didn't even realize
And we get that line. So it's clearly trying to hype us for the next episode, which is something I don't really like in media too often. If it's just trying to hype you up, and it's hype is not going to make the show better for me. I'm sorry. It's not.
that. I mean, some hype would make the show better for me, but the hype's not
yeah.
working.
I just think about shows with Attack on Titan, where it's they solely rely on hype. And it's I know the show isn't as much. It's a little bit better than Attack on Titan. I should really
I
give
disagree
Attack
with
on Titan
that.
a 1 out of 10. But I want some substance here, and I hope they deliver, at least on some amount of substance. But any last thoughts, guys?
I mean,
got nothing.
on Attack on Titan,
Wait.
I wanted to throw out there that while Attack on Titan is equally stupid, things happen in Attack on Titan. There's constantly plot twists, people dying, bullshit happening. It's dumb, and it's fucking Swiss cheese of a plot, but stuff happens in Attack on Titan, and that's why I think Attack on Titan's way better than this show.
Agreed.
I staunchly disagree, just because of the fact that that stuff is so uninteresting to me. So uninteresting. It's if I wanted some crazy plot about some random action bullshit, then I might as well go watch another shonen that's better in some way.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, FranXX is not that show, Vamp. FranXX is not that
also
show.
Not that show. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least it has fan service and fun times and better character designs.
It had this episode.
Yeah, and like I
But
said,
no,
I think
I
this.
agree with Lucy. I think Attack on Titan's better. But I got nothing else to say
a
except
debate for
everybody
another
put
day.
your hands up.
Everybody
Put your hands up.
up.